Here I am again. This time I would like to talk to the parents or caregivers or people who encounter children on a regular basis. I understand now that some of my caregivers weren't taught or weren't given or weren't shown nurturing, especially not nurturing love. But I also understand that you can grow up without that and still find a way to pull it from yourself. I can understand. I can walk and chew gum on that. And the reason why I'm going to talk about that is because a lot of things that I found within myself that were negative associations and ideas did not organically just grow. They came from somewhere. You know how weeds just come out of nowhere and you don't know where it came from? Because the wind blew some seeds somewhere at some point. When it comes to children, negative self-identity and association comes from the caregivers. I spend a lot of time when I'm talking to my folks, and when I say folks in this realm of speaking, sometimes I'm talking about the folks I choose to talk to that nobody else can understand but me. Or when I'm talking about people that come to me for help. And this time, I'm talking about the people who come to me for help. I take the time after they have shared with me their experiences and love that child. That child is still present within all of us. Tell them sorry in spaces that I know they didn't get a sorry. Because maybe their caregivers didn't know, didn't get nurtured, didn't get taught that nurturing love. We can spend all the time we want, social media and otherwise, shitting on people who didn't get that. Or we can spend our time locating, associating, and solving the problems. So you can steal it if you want to, especially if you're someone who's helping, who's in a helping profession, or who has some kind of platform. Encourage people to focus on the problem, not the person. Sometimes focusing on the problem helps you love the person from a distance, because sometimes you got to, because maybe they ain't getting the memo when you're trying to communicate what your boundaries are and what your needs are. Okay? And I'm holding this phone, just side street squirrel. I'm holding this phone because I've left my equipment at my other place, but I still need to speak. And I'm comfortable where I'm sitting. So I have it all propped up, but I don't have my usual stuff. So if you see a little shakiness on some of my videos, it's only because it's propped up and I'm trying to keep it from tipping over the phone. Anyway, it would help if someone that is an adult shares with you some kind of trauma or hurt, old hurt. You don't have to be a therapist or some other health professional to do this. You can go ahead and have it. I'm sorry, little insert name here. You didn't deserve that. You deserve to feel safe, loved, and nurtured. You're safe with me. And then carry on to be that safe person for the little person inside until they get a little bit easier on themselves and people around them. I'm sorry that happened. But I'm sorry to you that you didn't have the nurturing love that you and support you deserve. I'm sorry your parents didn't have that either. But you're safe now. You don't have to fight with me. When you're with me, you don't have to do all that. I love you just as you are. You don't have to be anything special. And when I say special, we all are, aren't we? In our individualized ways. But you don't have to be anything more than what you are for me to love you. In the verb sense, in the action sense. I'm not going to hurt you. And then follow through and not hurt them. Try your best not to do that. Because some of the worst things in the world is not necessarily hurting someone. Some of the worst things in the world. This is subjective now. You can have a different opinion on this part. But because I've experienced it, and I've experienced a lot of hurt and pain, some of the worst pain in the world that I've experienced is somebody telling me I'm safe. I'm finally safe. And then hurting me not long after that. Intentionally. It's one thing to step on somebody's foot on accident. It's another thing to step on it 3 times and you look down and they can see you, watch you looking down at their feet to see exactly where it is so you can go on ahead and step on it. That too, I've learned to grow past the hurt and pain of, but that took a lot of work. The average human being out there can't, especially if they've experienced what I'm talking about, don't have it within them to just allow you to do something like that and not go off. Especially when you convince them that they're safe. And you turn around and be the very thing that they were concerned about. You're not being fair to yourself or to them, or to anybody else that they encounter that's going to deal with that mess. And to those of you babies out there who've experienced this a time or two, don't shut yourself off out from the world, because all you're going to do is cut off the love that you have within you, the true, genuine, divine love you have within you from somebody who is truly deserving. And when I say deserving, I mean everybody deserves love in some form. That's, again, subjective. I truly feel it and mean it, no matter who you are. But however, everybody don't deserve access to everybody who gives love. Now, the access requires a bridge, a little bit of a bridge, and a little bit of an opening to be able to receive. Sometimes I sit outside when the sun is high, close my eyes, and I say, I receive. You can have that. Even if it don't do nothing but help me think some happy thoughts. But in order to receive that, you must be willing to give that in the most earnest way possible. If you know darn well you ain't about to be a safe place for a person, do the world a favor. Put your desires on the shelf for a second and say, you know what, I ain't good for you. I'm going to go away for a while until I can be good to myself and others. And when I say go away, go within yourself and understand why it is you don't want to do that. Because that damage, that hurt, that pain doesn't just extend to the person you're doing it to. It extends to everybody they encounter. And sometimes that's children. You want to know, some people believe in karma and dharma. I'm one of those people who do. You don't got to, though. But for this conversation, I'm going to use that as an avatar, and meaning that your energy extends beyond you, whether it be something that is harmful or helpful or just benign. It extends beyond you. It really does. So I have a friend and love him to death. He's like a brother to me. And all he does is complain sometimes. Like, your life is really not that hard, sir. But I don't tell him that, because everybody's levels are on different difficulty settings, and what's difficult for you, what's easy for you might be very challenging to somebody else. So do not judge on that count. Try your best not to. But I found it funny. One day he came to hang out, And our spot that a lot of my friends gather, a lot of my folks gather. He's complaining about something, but he said he left work, he was in a shit mood, and then somebody cut him off in traffic and had the nerve to get mad at him, flip him the bird, and it put him in a kind of crappy mood for the rest of the day. So he comes in and he starts spreading that to everybody he encountered, like telling the story of it, which kind of drains other people around him, and him not being self aware about it, as one could be. Don't realize you're draining everybody around you when you're doing that, because he's just in a mood. And what he's doing is no different than what children do when they're having a tantrum or grasping it for attention. It's because they're uncomfortable in some way and need somebody to soothe them. For me, not to most people, but for me, it's obvious this person has not learned to self-soothe. And the only way for somebody to learn to self-soothe is not to give them constant attention, no, but to give them enough attention, love, and affection to teach them how to calm themselves. That is taught. Nobody taught this person that. He's my friend, so I made it my business to slowly show him kindness and attention in a way that is not negative or judgmental. I think it helps. But that's how that works, If your intention is to cause harm because you have desires and you want to use another human being as an object, know that it extends past you. It extends to everybody that person encounters, and the innocent too. They call that baggage in some places. I think if we are dutiful in our abilities, those of us who have the ability to speak some peace, speak some calm, speak some love into the collective, if we are dutiful about that and we talk about that from a space of love and acceptance, even when we're upset and angry, we can possibly create something different in 40 years. And we can complain all day long about what the government do and don't do. But you think I'm just talking about the violence that I'm witnessing? No. I'm talking about every facet of our dynamics right now is born out of lack of care, concern, and love for one another. It's all about our greed. It's all about our carnal desires. It's all about our most basic natures. I'm gonna be honest with y'all. What I am witnessing from the highest levels of power all the way down is lizard brain behavior. And I don't think human beings are just lizard brained. I wouldn't be talking to you right now. It'd be wasting my time. And I done told y'all before, I'm not about wasting my time with nothing. People find that out real quick. See, I'm an easygoing person. I'm non-judgmental, typically. Well, there are times where I'm judging, but it's more like out of safety and concern for myself and others. If it's no safety concern, then I don't care. I don't care what you do or how you do it. Life is meant to be lived, honey. Live. Live wide. Live strong. Do all the things that you would like to do that can diminish or not harm another human being. The judgments and all those things, we just create that stuff. They ain't got nothing to do with nothing. Some things are common sense. Right? Some things are common sense. And I've told y'all before, we don't necessarily need religion if we have common sense and the golden rule. But ritual, deference, and reference to something can be a beautiful process if we take the judgments out of it and add the golden rule, and that's it. Because honestly, some of the things I see in my mind's eye is worse than anything I can imagine that is dreamed up in a book. This is my way of saying, if you want to not have to complain about that in 40 years, or have your children become full-grown adults finally and complain about corruption and all these things in our entertainment industry and our governmental bodies and our military complex, if you want that not to be a thing, then the onus is on us as individuals to be solid. And I know sometimes it gets exhausting to be solid, but maybe it's time for us to stop being solid. If we keep glorifying bullcrap, that's all we're going to have. Now, do we need shadow what I like? Yes, we've talked about this before. When I say shadow, I mean behaviors that sometimes is unbecoming because we need to have a little bit of grit. But again, how much grit does the collective need to have? Do we need to be having breakfast all the time? No. Harmony does not mean that there is never any strife. Harmony means there's a balance between strife and joy. If you experience joy all the time, you won't appreciate it. That's not even up for debate for me. I'm not going to say that one's subjective. But the truth be told, if you experience strife all the time, joy seems like something you can't even trust, let alone enjoy. And that second point is in essence what I am talking about. If you're one of those people that spends a lot of your free time causing harm to others and pretending like you're not doing that, you're the problem. You're the problem. Especially if you're not getting nothing back. Like, give some equal give and take. Equal give and take might balance things out a bit and call it a wash. But if all you doing with your free time is plotting and scheming and scamming, the reason why you have to plot, scheme, and scam in the first place is people like you. If you spend your time telling someone that they are safe and you're indicating that someone is safe in your presence when you know darn well they're not, again, we create strife. When I say we, the collective we, because I ain't trying to do all that. And I have. Oh, child, I have. Part of the reasons why I was disappointed in myself is I spent my entire life following rules, and not in I'm a rule follower proud kind of way, because see, I don't follow rules that don't make sense. I need to see why that rule makes sense before I can follow it. You understand? Because that's what got us into a lot of mess. Human beings in a lot of mess over history. I'm a student of history, honey. I'm not gonna follow rules because somebody say do it. I'm gonna need to see why I need to do that, and then I'm gonna go ahead and follow it for sure. But if it don't make sense, and the people who laid down the law don't follow the rule either, y'all can go ahead with that mess. If you ain't gonna follow the rule, why I need to follow it? You the one who is enforcing the rule, and you ain't gonna follow it? No, ma'am, and no, sir. Out my face. So I get it. I really do. But these things are not all or nothing. Some things just make sense. But I spent my whole life following them rules, staying in alignment with what I thought was good and right. You'll have a hard-pressed time finding a human being alive in this world that'll tell you that I'm a liar. Now, that's the people who didn't believe things I've said. Yeah, there are people who didn't believe things I've said. Doesn't mean I was lying when I said them. I've had friends for decades. I'm like, I can't even think of a time where I saw her lying. It's not a brag, honey. It's something. I'm like, something's wrong with the tick tick boom boom in that department. Because I'm like, what is the point of lying? We can just tell the truth and get it over with, or readjust what you're doing so you don't have to lie. And everybody lie from time to time. Sometimes you just lie to your friend when you say, that makeup cute. If you ain't going nowhere too special. I don't even know how to do that properly. Like, you know what we can do? We can go ahead and adjust that. It's not quite right. I try to soften the truth in those instances. You understand? Lying by omission. I've done that. I definitely have done that. It's to tell, if I have to tell this person the truth at this moment, it's not gonna go well for either one of us, and nothing good can come out of it. I'll keep my mouth shut. Unless I'm directly asked, I'll keep my mouth shut. So I've done that. Was I outright? No. Stay faithful to my partner. Regardless of what was going on, how I was treated, didn't matter. I stayed faithful. And even in the moments in which I was ready to be done, I still can't tell the truth about everything. No matter what it was and how uncomfortable it made me. I'm not saying this to brag on me, y'all, because sometimes I feel like I was very, very stupid and dumb and gullible and all the things because of doing that. And I've told y'all before, I was married for 21 years. And then went to school, sometimes worked 2 jobs to make ends meet while I was in school, to supplement the income I had with my partner at the time, take care of our kids. I want almost a whole decade without having a sip of alcohol, so I could be as present as I possibly could, because I was working and going to school and homeschooling my children. Yeah, I was stressed to the damn max, and I was chain smoking at the time, but that's the worst thing I did. Trying my best to be loving to my children and my spouse at the time, under some very difficult circumstances. And I go all the way to school, make it all the way to my, y'all, I told y'all I'm holding this phone. Make it all the way to my master's program, only to mess it up. Because somebody told me I was safe. Finally. Somebody's, between my friends and a partner I chose at the time. It was a dumbass decision I made. That was a stupid decision. And to this day, I know it was a dumb decision. It was a selfish decision. But I still made it. And those ripples and waves spread out from that stupid decision, that selfish decision. So not only was I stressed in all these other areas, I stressed my own self out by making that stupid decision. Then I stressed out an entire other family by making that stupid decision. Right? And then caused strife within my professional and personal life. That was dumb. It wasn't my best choices. Now, how you go through all that? I went through all of that in my adult life to mess it up. There are 2 sides of that coin. One side, life is hard. So you can tell somebody they're safe? Be safe. Be a safe person. But 2, life is hard. If you're going to be a stand-up person, do it all the time. Nothing, and I do mean nothing in this world, was worth that. Not even feeling safe. I don't know why I had to learn that hard way, but I did. You understand? Make good choices. Make good choices for yourself as well as others. And not everybody can do this. That's what I'm saying. Those of us who are grown past the age of 30 are responsible to do this. Because at no other crucial time other than now that I am aware of, do we have a chance with all this emotional intelligence just spreading. If the only good thing that came out of social media right now is that the emotional intelligence of the collective has increased, not decreased, it's increased by a lot, because we had to go on and sit with ourselves when COVID happened. Go sit down and sit with yourselves. That's what COVID said. Go sit with yourself. Do some shadow work. Do some journaling. See where you're creative at. Care about something. Realize how important love is and togetherness is. Because you're not appreciating stuff until you lose it. That's what I got from it. But the onus is on us to be the best version of ourselves. See, all that wasn't for the children necessarily yet. That was for each one of us. And also, folks out here think that they're just elevated because they're so special. No. You just had the fortitude and the aptitude to be able to receive so that you can be the best version of yourself, to model that behavior for others, and teach anybody who want to learn. And everybody who don't want to learn, love on them anyway. That's it. Because it's needed. There wasn't love down here, I think. And when I say down here, I mean on Earth or in the third dimension, whatever you want to talk about. And when I say dimension, don't get intimidated. It's not even that serious. When you draw a piece of paper, on a piece of paper, a flat piece of paper, you know, a flat piece of paper, that's 2-dimensional. We are 3-dimensional. Okay? Because we have form and shape outside of one plane. When you start thinking of other dimensionals, just a side street real quick so we can understand moving forward. When I speak in dimensions, I'm not trying to speak over your head or speak some nonsense. But when we're talking about another dimension above the 3rd dimension, that means we're talking about conscious awareness of other things that's not plainly seen on a piece of paper or within these dynamics that we live. Hell, religion is not 3rd dimensional. It's above the 3rd dimension, because you have to believe in something you can't see, can't you? You got to believe in something that is omnipotent and that creates things around you somehow through some miracle. That is above the 3rd dimension. Anything that adds extra layers to a reality is another dimension. And that's all I mean by that. It's that simple. It's not complex. You don't even need to be a genius to understand that. Instead of being angry, bitter, miserable, all these things that says, once I finish telling y'all all these stories, and I don't know how long I'm going to get to tell them, that I could be, the thing I can add to it is love. Understanding. What did I learn? So maybe you can learn something. Because a healthy body, think of all of us as a body. It's a healthy body. The cells, specific cells, do what the specific cells need to do. A cardiac cellular body is not going to be found in the intestines, for example. Everything is functioning. Everything's in its own place. Everything's doing what it needs to do to keep the body well. What I am doing with these conversations with you is showing you the moments in which the body wasn't well in my life, but also demonstrating through those stories how the collective body is not well and how we can somehow help that, how we can somehow medicate that with our own actions and behaviors. Because I know some people's like, well, what about the world's going to come to an end because of global warming and all this? Listen, if we're kind to ourselves and each other, guess what? Less people are going to consume. Here's why less people are going to consume. Because there's a whole grip, and when I say grip, I mean a lot of folks out there around the world who shop out of depression, anxiety, some loss, or sadness. It gives them a hit of dopamine just to shop for random stuff. There are people who out there who overeat for the same reason. If we are, by collective, happier overall, less of that's going on. That's one big grip of global warming solved just by our overall happiness increasing. Mhm. For example, there are many examples like this in which we are destroying things because we are unhappy as a collective. We have an opportunity right now to do or die, make ourselves and each other happier by proxy of the fact that we care. Not to make somebody happy who is a miserable SOB who's making everybody else miserable. That's not the point, because that's not what we're talking about. What we're talking about is being a better version of you. So you can then model that behavior and also help others receive love from you if you have that ability. So you can wax philosophical, do magic tricks, pull cards, read charts, and all these things. And that helps nobody but you, really. So what's the point of being predictive if you can't be helpful? Also, I done told y'all before, cheating on the test, and life is a test. Giving all the answers away, you learn nothing. I'll tell you right now. Anybody who told you everything that you came to, side street again. I guess I'm doing two of those in this video. Anybody who tells you everything that they see, read, or who has those abilities to do that, can divinate and all those things. Anybody who tell you everything is setting you up for failure. You came here to learn if you believe in such things. You're in this life to learn and to love, have fun, to experience things. And if you don't understand it that way, understand it this way. I'm using metaphor. Imagine going through your entire senior year of high school or college, and you were given the answers to the tests, the exams, and all the homework. Somebody gave you somebody else's paper and changed some words up, and you still got A's all throughout. Imagine you go to do all your stuff for graduation. Come on now. And then them people who are deciding whether or not you get to graduate find out the entire school year you've been handed all the answers, and that's why you passed with such flying colors, and you really ain't learned nothing. They decide, well, see, we're gonna figure it out, whether you cheated or whether you got it honest. We'll give you a final exam, and you flunked the final exam because you ain't learned nothing. You passed by the skin of your teeth for real. So you have one or two choices. Start from the beginning, taking the exam again, or whatever. But truth be told, chances are, if you want to pass that exam, you have to go on ahead and learn them lessons honest. Ain't nothing wrong with getting some help to get through them, though. Getting some pointers, getting some insight about it. Now, that's the difference between giving the answers. Take that or leave that if you want to. Just telling you what I know, what I understand. Better leave them folks alone. Learn them lessons the hard way. It's better off for you, too. Somebody give you the answers and say you get out. You're still going to have to do some hard stuff. Say, in that same metaphor, you have to not go and do that as your career. And technically, you did graduate. And now you can't perform the task that's meant to perform for that job because you didn't learn the last lessons. You're going to have a hard time, and everybody you encounter going to have a hard time with you. Like that. Being codependent on things like that is not necessarily good for you or the collective that you encounter. Just saying. And I find it quite soothing to read charts and things like this. But I also understand the pitfalls of it too, so I'm quite careful and respectful of what I'm dealing with. You can do what you want, though. That's what I choose to do. Anyway. But that's part of that kindness factor too. If you understand you're handicapping somebody by giving them all the answers, then maybe don't. Some things ain't meant to be just given. Some things are meant to be known through experience. We're here to do that, ain't we? I think that's where some of the Abrahamic teachers fail at. It's not understanding why. You shouldn't delve into all those things or trust everybody who does that. Somebody giving you answers ain't teaching you much, if they're teaching you anything at all. It's like going to a job interview and somebody feeding you what to say to. Like, I do get annoyed sometimes when I see people saying, here's what you should say at this job interview. If the person doesn't know how to be personable and express themselves and sell themselves by themselves because they went through whatever experiences they need to go through, including school, then they don't need to get that job. Feeding them the answers, all they're going to do is get the job and be terrible at it and cause their co-workers more strife. Cut it out. I'm asking. Everything ain't meant for everybody. But I started this conversation by saying our littles need us to do better too. Our littles really do need us to do better. Be less selfish. That self-sacrifice right now is a crucial thing. That means that if you really want to go out there and be a complete and utter douche, don't make no people. Then go do that. I'm not even mad at you, but don't make people. If you know you have a tendency to be abusive and abrasive, either go heal that or don't make people. Just don't. And to our religious leaders, if you ever would to hear or see this, understand, encouraging folks to mate and procreate is irresponsible when the majority of our citizens are living in pain and strife. And all they're going to do is procreate more people who are going to deliver that to the planet. We got to get our minds and our hearts right first. On that same note, let's be real. Marriage ain't never helped a woman a day in her life. Like, back when this was incorporated, as everybody should know by now, it's common knowledge that a woman is considered chattel or property. And although that's not the case necessarily now, and some places it still is, the man goes out and works and labors and toils and brings in the bacon or the food or the whatever it needs to take care of the overhead, and the woman nurtures and grows the family while standing side by side and leading that family with her partner. That's the way it was supposed to be meant to do. But what occurred is, over time, greed, abuse, hardships made that system obsolete. And it currently is obsolete. Women, that's a lot of people still think that women shouldn't be out there working. Well, listen. Give us men that's going to nurture us. Give us a system in which, even if it's not a man, because right now we're understanding there are different ways to love. I'm going on a third side street because I really need to get these things out of my system because they've been sitting in the hole for a minute. I'm still talking to the folks who are dogmatic and religious. Do you understand? If it's a perfect system and ain't no mistakes in the way that you think of your deity and your God, and in your eyes, our God, don't you think if there's open population, God will create loving beings that don't need to procreate, can still love each other, to combat that? Ain't none of y'all considered that for a second? And that somehow the test could be of you loving and accepting them as they are, to see if you really bout what you say you bout. It's not even more complicated than that. And it annoys me that that wasn't picked up on by nobody that I understand that is very dogmatic. It's like, what? There's an overpopulation problem right now. It's not like we don't have enough land, but we are consuming too much that we actually do need. So we don't necessarily need to make more people right now. The only reason to make more people right now is to make more money. We talked about this. And the people who are making the most money off of us procreating, it's not trickling it down to us. Unlike what Mr. Reagan said. Okay? Some things just need to be cut out as thought processes. And some things need to be cut on as thought processes. So that we can understand. It's not about you. Not individually. It's about the collective and what is needed. Sometimes we get what we need, not what we want. But we also can be joyful in it. Because when I see two kids, two babies, loving on each other genuinely and not hurting nobody, I don't care what's in their pants. Personally, don't care at all. It ain't even none of my business, nor do I want to see. And I often wonder why you care. Why can't you just love and accept them as they are and stop trying to change them? Because you know what? Not a single one of you is helping out with global warming, probably. The ones that are picking in people who love differently than they do. And are attracted differently than they are. Just saying. It's a point of view to consider. That things change over time. They evolve over time. You need to evolve. Involve your thinking. Involve your heart. There's a reason why. I'm about to tell y'all a story. And I hope this is not too bad for you. This still goes in line with empathy and understanding for each other. I don't know if I told y'all this, but when I was in Italy, I think it was in Rome or Florence, there was this museum that I was drawn to. But it was a museum of how people used to discipline and torture each other. I'm talking about like religious folks and clergy and the kings and the queens and the lords of the lands. And when I tell you, when I came out of that, I needed therapy myself. And I'm like, why was I supposed to be in there and why did I need to see all that? It took me about a week to recover from seeing all that. The ways human beings used to treat each other, to try to convince each other of their own points of view. And sometimes just because. I needed to see that so I can understand where we can go again. In whatever ways we're going now. It's a lack of empathy that will cause people to do something like that. The lack of concern for someone else's point of view that can cause somebody to behave like that. Even if nobody but me saw that, understood that, so they can see somebody else's perspective, not just my own, then something good happened from it, I suppose. To this day, there are things I saw now I wish I could unsee. I was angry that they even had something like that existing. But I think sometimes human beings need to be reminded that we're capable of that. One of the things that I think to this day is really hurtful in my mind is during the Black Lives Matter protest, during around that time, there was a transgender individual who had top surgery but not bottom surgery as of yet. But it was in that transitional phase. But feminization had already started to occur of the face and the upper body. And I don't know her name. I wish I did. I don't know if I would say it at this time, though. They gave me nightmares for days. That was arrested and beaten. I don't even know what she was charged with. I think she was protesting. I'm not certain. But they had beaten her, taken off her wig, taken off her top, exposing her breasts. And she was in the back of a police wagon. And I don't know what happened to her because I couldn't bring myself to look. But she was bloodied and her breast exposed and her wig gone. It just horrified me and enraged me so much that I quit doing everything I was doing for a good month. It's like, let it all fall. How are you capable of doing something like that? To this day, it pisses me off. You have to have reference and deference for shoes that ain't big as you. You can't fit them shoes. The shoes that everybody are trying to judge out of are bigger than you. Way bigger. That size too big. Because see, when you do stuff like that and think it's okay, or judge in such a way, and speak and vibrate in such a way to make other people think that that's okay to do to someone because they're different than you, I'm going to tell you who you're not serving. I think you need gas. Like, even in the church that I grew up in, I still love a lot of those people. I love them all. I don't like some of them, but I love them all. I learned a lot from a lot of them, and they give me a lot of love over life. They showed me, those people, the people who showed me a lot of kindness and empathy. But they also taught me that someone can be kind and empathetic, but also have ignorant ideas and thoughts. Because they're following what somebody told them as opposed to what they can feel with their own heart and soul. And that is the fallacy of not evolving your thought processes or your doctrine. I think that's one of the reasons why I was led to look at that stuff in that museum, because it's not my bag. I'm not a horror movie girly. My kids will tell you. My previous partner and my kids can tell you when they will watch horror movies, they liked it, but I had to go somewhere else. I can't stand to watch people get hurt for entertainment like that. Not in like a horrific sense. Like, I can watch an action movie all day long, but horror movies, no. It's just not my bag. Never was. It was just upsetting to me. I wasn't afraid of it. It was just upsetting to see that. I don't want to watch somebody screaming horror. I don't. It's just never entertaining for me. So to go in this museum, it demonstrated for me all the things that human beings can do to each other in the guise of belief and religion and some doctrine. A two-dimensional piece of something telling you to do something to somebody. You were given a consciousness and a soul and a heart for a reason, so that we can use those things as guides, but still listen to our odds. Even though I was raised to believe that something was wrong with people who love differently, I found a way out of it. Not because I love differently, and I think I do. I love differently in that sometimes I can love you if I'm talking in a romantic sense. I can love you, but also still seek out other experiences with other people. And sometimes I just want to be with a person by myself, solo dolo. It depends on the moment. I don't judge myself for it. I used to. Because the two-dimensional document told me I needed to judge myself for it. So, doing that in secret. But I don't judge myself for it no more. I accept myself for who I am. I'm just safer about it. I'm more honest about it with myself and others. There's no one right way or wrong way to do this. We don't have to do it that way no more. We don't have to do it in a way that we've imprisoned women into motherhood. Because that's what I felt like some of the time. And I love my babies dearly. There's a lot of times I felt like I was imprisoned in motherhood. Because I couldn't get out. And it didn't matter how rough of a time I was having. Those babies needed me. Even when I was a baby myself. We want to be thankful for the fact that those people exist that love differently than us. I'm just saying, though, considering these thoughts, I know there are going to be some that's like, oh. But the Bible said, listen, I know what the Bible said. I've read it back and forth several times. I got one right in the room. Also have Quran. I do also have a Gita. I do also have myths and legends. I'm reading books off the shelf. Mythology, quantum theory, Tao, things like this. Not because I'm super smart, y'all. I just was curious about everything. But there's nothing in those books that's going to make me be hurtful or harmful to somebody else or decide that I can feel some shoes that's too big for me. It'd be like, back in the day, I know this is running long, but just go with me. Back in the day, in psychology, whenever a woman would say, I am depressed because my husband is very aggressive and upsetting to me. Because men back then were very aggressive is upsetting. And some of them still are today. They would diagnose her with hysteria and put her in a mental institution. It wasn't that long ago, y'all. And the DSM was perfectly fine with it. Just follow me for a second, religious folks. Or dogmatic religious folks. Abrahamic, anyway. Because they hadn't upgraded that for quite some time, and that was written in such a way that the writers were those who were privileged to decide what is right and wrong, and nobody else of any kind of other gender, other culture, other belief structures, or even other race. Yes, his race is a social construct, but it's still a construct nonetheless, isn't it? Within this dimension. We're given the privilege or allowed to even speak on behalf of the entire collective as it pertains to psychology. Come on now. So when that happens, they might be making sense on a lot of subjects in a lot of areas in a lot of ways, but then it may not make sense on other things. They're still human. So what we do over time is regather and study what makes sense and what don't. Because we are allowed to grow and evolve. We are, even in that area. Because when you don't grow and evolve, you have stuff like that happen where you put women in a mental institution when it's the man who belonged in somebody's therapy office getting therapy. Because he's emotionally, mentally, and physically abusing his family. But as long as he's going to work and paying the bills, she shouldn't be complaining, put her in a house. That wasn't even that long ago. My grandmother told me about times that happened to her, so don't tell me. That was a really long time ago. I'm alive right now, and she was alive when I was alive to tell me about it. And I had to go and study that. Just because she told me. I ain't studied that because I went to school to get a psych degree. I studied that because my grandma told me about it. Again, I'm a curious cat. So if we don't evolve our thinking, we end up harming each other. Because somebody else says so. And that goes true for pretty much anything that's popular within our collective. It's okay to learn from others that are different than you, or that is saying something exciting, or saying something that helps us stay in line and alignment, honey. Ain't nothing wrong with it. But when we take that and we decide that's it, that's end all and be all, and we don't choose to use what is given to us in our consciousness, we're just walking around being lizard brains. Or lemurs following each other just off a cliff. Because all things evolve. If we can evolve, all things can evolve. And when I say all things, I mean all. As above, so below is pertains to such things. But if you don't believe that, you ain't gotta. But don't it make sense to be kinder to each other and to yourselves? And to be responsible? I told y'all my story of being nonsensical. I think I had to listen. I ain't the one to tell somebody that I enjoy or had fun this whole time. It hurt. There are moments, my hands fell asleep on that one. There are moments where I have had fun. But I think I needed to experience, like I told you the whole time, being honest and loyal and dedicated and working hard and doing all these things. I think I needed to experience being not that. To know what that's like to even be able to talk to you with any kind of authority. That's the only thing I can get out of it, because I can't imagine nothing else I got out of that. Other than pain. Other than pain. I can speak to you from an authority of someone who's actually been a piece of shit sometimes and also not been that. And I can tell you actively it's a choice. Now we see when we make when enough of us make the active choice to be a piece of shit, the world goes to crap. You think it's just happenstance? You think it's just governments orchestrating things? I know there's some folk out there that believe that. No, it's you. It's each one of us deciding every day whether or not we're just gonna mind our business or we're gonna be an asshole and take from somebody. Pretend we are when we aren't. Well, if we want things to get better as a collective, if we want to stop seeing news stories in which our own babies are killing each other, we want to stop seeing that. We're going to start being more active about be actively participating and not being that. Even when I was talking yesterday about MHRs, one thing I will tell you is sometimes I felt like, and it really irritated and pissed me off, that we were training counselors to actually see and deal with the problems of the upper middle class and the wealthy when they get into their clinical practice and finally get their full license, but they were training on the backs of young inner city youth at MHRs. Because otherwise it don't even make no sense. Them babies need better from us. Overall, better. They still do need better from us. Because they're the ones who need it the most. Not the middle to upper class and the wealthy. Because a lot of the problems that they're dealing with are self-imposed issues. Seriously. A lot of the things they're doing to themselves. Look, I'm not trying to judge. Okay. You successful, be successful. That's great. What I'm saying is, we want the system to change, we got to change ourselves individually. We got to start thinking of things differently than we have been. And I'm hoping with these series of videos that I'm doing, and I don't know how many I'm going to end up doing, that somebody somewhere with the ability to do something kind of sees through the illusion of separation between each and every one of us and realize everything you do to one, you do to another, you do to another, and you do to another, because it extends out beyond you. And judge, lest you be judged. For real, for real. Now, I may not be religious any longer when it comes to Abrahamic. I'm honest, I welcome that as well as all beliefs, because I believe they all have merit. There's no one better than the other. Believe what you want, but that's what I believe. Okay? Okay. That don't mean that any times that the Lord's Prayer doesn't give me solace and comfort. And the reason why it does is because it forces me to sit down and think. It has forced me over the last 4 years. It has forced me to sit down and think of the people when I'm saying this part. Excuse me. that have hurt me the worst, when I'm feeling guilt about anything that I've done to harm someone else, the part that says, forgive me my trespasses as I forgive those who trespass against me. Do you understand what that means? See, at first when I was a kid, I used to just say it because it was out of habit. I didn't understand. But what it really means is, if you ever want to be forgiven for something you've done, and we all make mistakes and we all make on purposes too, because sometimes some things we do that is awful or wrong is on purpose. And we want to be forgiven, or at least live some kind of life of peace, silence, harmony, and have some joy in it. In order for you to have that, you have to be able to be forgiven in moments that you have no reason to be forgiven. In order to have that. So, in understanding and having that part, it reminds me to find a reason to forgive. It reminds me to forgive myself too, as I'm finding reasons to forgive. Not in some superficial way, but in a real way. While also not being a pushover. Because I will still cuss a fool out tomorrow if they decide that they feel like that I'm the one to try. Just no, I'm not. I'd rather not cuss you out. You know, be honest. I'm being honest with y'all. It's worse when I don't even use swear words when I read you for filth. There's a person right now that I know within, I said within a week or so, that something wasn't quite right with them. And it wasn't until another friend informed me of something that I had not picked up on from this individual, because I actually really liked them as a person. I realized they were actually intentionally trying to harm me and just chose not to do that. I don't know, for whatever reason. But they were in the process of doing it at one point. And it wasn't until they was like being weird and kind of backing away from me that I started realizing really that something wasn't quite right with this individual. Maybe some of the things I suspected were true. Then I saw another friend I hadn't seen in weeks because he had a surgery. It's like, yeah, the only person that could have done that to you was this person. And even though I suspected him, I was like, confirmed. It was real late at night. I was like, and I read him for filth. I forgive him, but I read him for filth, and I don't trust him. But even that person is redeemable. I think everybody, as long as it got breath in them, is redeemable in some way. Now, if everybody's trusted? No. Not everybody's trusted. I don't know why this was built in the package that is me. Don't ask me. I know this video's running long. Y'all just go with me for this one more thing. Because if I can get through this and get through these conversations with y'all, my hope is that I help in some way. Because if it don't help, I swear to you, everything, I'm done after this. If it doesn't help, I'm done after this. And I mean it. Then I want to do another thing, if I can manage it. But it came in with the package that is me. And because this video is running long, I'm going to go on here and let y'all wait on that. But it's a story about me and my father. Anyway, I'll talk to y'all in a few minutes. I need a break. You're loved.